What is an all-in-one homeschool curriculum, aka boxed curriculum? It's also called a boxed curriculum. Laid out lesson plans. Why are some homeschoolers dead set against using one? And why do other homeschool families flourish with one? Well, I want to help you sort out myth from fact. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Tina Robertson. I homeschool at Tina's Dynamic Homeschool Plus. I've been homeschooling about 25 years now, which is why I want to help you to sort out myth from fact. I have 3 homeschool grads. I'm still mentoring Mr. Munchkin, who's about kindergarten, first grade. So much fun with these younger grades. Please give me a thumbs up or follow me here on my YouTube channel. I think I shared another video or two where I promptly created my YouTube channel and then moved overseas and trekked the Amazon rainforest. So I guess I could have kept up my YouTube channel, but I was just having so much fun. I didn't. So I just reignited my YouTube channel just this year. So I am growing it. But more important than that, I love sharing with you the tips that I have. So please stay tuned because I want to share the components, why we used to call it box curriculum, why do we call it all-in-one now, how to identify it. I have a lot to tell you. My Facebook page is How to Homeschool Easy with the initials Easy. And then, of course, like I explained about my website, Tina's Dynamic Homeschool Plus, I create lap books, unit studies. My heart has a soft spot for new homeschoolers. I have an online course that I taught in person, and I put it online now so that more of you could take advantage of it. And it's on the Teachable platform, and that site is How to Homeschool Easy as well. Okay, let's jump into talking about this topic. All-in-one box curriculum. It used to be called a box curriculum. That's why sometimes in the homeschool world, you'll hear either second generation homeschoolers or maybe homeschoolers like myself, seasoned homeschoolers who've homeschooled for a long time. We used to call it a box curriculum. Now we call it more all-in-one, and there's a reason why, because we've also had an explosion of not just physical curriculum, but online curriculum. So all-in-one homeschool curriculum seems to be the more popular term as of current today. But let me explain and give you a definition of what is an all-in-one or box curriculum. Then I want to go on to talking about some of the advantages and some of the considerations. No, I don't like using the word disadvantage because are pros and cons, because what may be a con for me today is not a con tomorrow. But a consideration is different. It helps me weigh that particular curriculum that I want to use against my current circumstances. And really, when you speak to other homeschoolers, I encourage you to use the word, what do you think were the advantages if you're asking someone about their use of a particular curriculum? And then say, what were some of the considerations you had to think about while you were using it? And that kind of gives you a more balanced perspective, because everybody's going to down something that didn't work for them or didn't work for their kid and a thumbs up for something that was really good. And it could be the opposite for your family. So I've got my notes right here because, I love to talk to you. I get on here, I get excited, and I love to talk to you. So I have my notes to keep myself reined in. So let me just read off of the notes I made here about what is an all-in-one homeschool curriculum, aka also known as a box curriculum by some seasoned veterans. All right, so it is a curriculum who provides all subjects, or which I should say, not who, which provides all subjects laid out in a step-by-step order, usually accompanied by a scripted teacher's manual. And it could have a teacher's manual. It usually has a student book, a work text, a workbook of some kind, tests, and grading services are sometimes offered. They're not always part of the box curriculum. And then some providers like Calvert, who's been around for 100 years, they used to put all the supplies like crayons and paper and everything in a box because there would be missionaries living overseas and they would ship it in a box and just drop the box there to them, and it'd have everything that they need. They wouldn't have to go looking around. Oh, where's the crayons? Where are these pencils and paper? It's basically box curriculum, everything you needed in there. Okay, now let me just expand a little bit on that too. I said math and language arts, or it does include math and language arts, but the other subjects would be like science and history. So it has all of your subjects together. Now, that's the Iggy now in the homeschool world, because even some of that has changed. Some providers tout they're an all-in-one, except they'll say on there, you need to buy a math curriculum or a phonics curriculum or something else. But they tout as an all-in-one because for the most part, they have all of the core subjects, or they could just be focusing on math and language arts, identifying those as their core subjects, and then leave it up to you whether you want to add the content subjects like history, science, geography, Bible, art. But in addition, sometimes there's extra practice that's needed. So they might even encourage you to have a separate phonics program. I have a lot to say about that too for those except, and help you identify that. Now, I'll talk some more about that as we go through there, but just kind of let that definition soak in for right now. And it's laid out, meaning day 1, day 2, day 3, and it gives you a list of the subjects to cover. Now, one of the beauties of an exceptional all-in-one is where they tie all of the subjects together and a unifying theme of some sort each day. Calvert, I've had experience with them, they do this. Even though they may pull a resource from another company, I know they used to pull from Steck Von, I think they still do, but they make Steck Von their own, meaning they don't just give you Steck Von and throw it to you in the box, but they fold it into their lesson plan. They use their teachers and they show you how to teach your child using that particular page or topic or teaching point. See, that's a difference. That's a fine line difference that if you didn't homeschool for a long time, you may not know. On the other hand, some curriculum providers say, we provide all this, but get your math somewhere else. So then you just follow math. They haven't really added math. Their teachers have not looked over that math day to day. They may have approved it, that math program for one of the choices, but it's not really their teachers teaching it. That's a difference, which is why I really enjoyed Calvert. Now, back in the day, it wasn't quite as expensive as it is now, and I believe they've also changed hands, too, with the company. I haven't used any of their recent curriculum that they have out now. I just want to show you the difference. Now, in addition, another difference or advantage or consideration that you might want to look at, and that is that not all-in-one provide a comprehensive teacher's manual. Now, if you're new, or if you're new to the subject, like me, you want everything that you can possibly have at your fingertips to teach your child. Background information, extra teaching tips, suggested schedules. And that's the difference between a glorified teacher's answer key versus a comprehensive, exceptional, and excellent teacher's manual. There's a difference. And how do you know this when you're looking? Well, first place to start is on the website of whatever curriculum you're looking at, because they give lots of sample pages. And if they don't, ask them for a sample page. Can I have a sample page of this whatever grade, a few pages, so I can see the teacher's manual? Now, I happen to believe, or be in the camp, if you will, that if you're going to buy and spend the money on an all-in-one, I want a comprehensive teacher's manual. I want other information in there. I want suggested teaching tips. I want suggested schedules. They'll even, a good all-in-one, in my opinion, should have a schedule. It's great to do all these subjects, but how in the world do I plan it? You know, there's a lot of curriculum providers that are saying, here, look what we have. And so many subjects, you're like, how do I get this done in a decent hour or decent day in short hours? There should be schedules accompanying in the teacher's manual to show you where to plug in these different subjects. Okay, so those are kind of some of my things that I look for when I'm looking at all-in-one. What's the teacher's manual like? Another thing, before I forget, before I move away from this point, something else I want to bring out is that back in the day, all-in-ones, we used to just refer to them as faith-based or secular. But there really has been a more defining, if you will, a more definition of faith-based, secular, and faith-neutral. Faith-neutral wasn't something, I know they probably existed back 20 years ago when I first started, but it didn't feel that way. But looking back now, I can see some that were easier to tweak to more faith-neutral, so I could put whatever I wanted to, my worldview, and the same for you. Your kids, your worldview, you decide. So you have to know, is it secular? Is it faith-based? And even faith-based, I realize some curriculum providers very lightly will add some Bible content, whereas other providers, it's hard to separate the doctrine from what they're teaching for the day. You may or may not want this, but that's something else to look at. Is it faith neutral? If it's not faith neutral and you like it and say it's faith-based, is it light on Bible content so you can add your own view? Or is it just too heavily doctrine and you don't want that? Or if that is your faith, then that could be a good fit for you, because then you're adding both your faith and the curriculum together. I know it can seem a lot to take in, but that's why I'm doing this video, because these are all the things that I have learned in my many years of using them. Okay, so some ones that are like what I consider faith neutral and is Bookshark. Bookshark actually touts itself as faith neutral. That means that they want you to add your worldview to it, and they do their best to stay faith neutral about things. And then I think Bob Jones is one that is faith-based, but it's easily tweakable to whatever, worldview that you have. So those are just a few of the ones I know. Whereas now Calvert used to tout as being secular. And I know that they do teach evolution. And as a secular homeschooler, you may say, okay, that's a good thing for you. Or if you want to put your own view, then you can skip over that part. So I'm not a secular homeschooler. I do like to add faith-based things, but also liked Calvert. And I knew there were certain things I didn't want to skip over. Evolution, I did want my children to know about, and I do want them to know about it. And I want them to respect people who have a different view on it. So I want to be the one to introduce it to them. So there's different things like that when you're looking at curriculum that you can decide, okay, does this work for me or does it not work for me? Okay. Now, here are some of what I call the advantages of an all-in-one or a box curriculum. Okay, so one of the advantages is everything is laid out. There's really no lesson planning on your part. And in the beginning, I didn't use a box curriculum. I've tried several different ones through the years, and a lot of them I like. But in the beginning, I didn't. But I got burned out. I sent my oldest back. I sent him to public school because I was homeschooled out of fear. I didn't take the time to read or to learn. And actually, I didn't have the time because I was up all night with a newborn. I had a toddler. I didn't have the time. I didn't have it. There's one thing for someone to tell you, take the time, and there's another thing for you to have the time. Sometimes you just don't have the time. And I didn't have the time to see, okay, what does a balanced day look like? So following a laid out lesson plan gave me a pattern to follow. Okay, this is a balanced day. For this age, 2 hours is good enough at the pre-K and K stage. That way I say, okay, this is what I want to do. In addition, an all-in-one helps you to see maybe what you don't want to do, especially one that is very worksheet focused when children are young. I do not believe in worksheet focused curriculum when children are beginning to learn. There's nothing about a worksheet that fosters creativity. Hands-on, play learning, music, games, being with the family, everyday interaction with you, conversations with you, these things foster a love of learning. And if an all-in-one doesn't have that for the younger years, I'm not interested, because that's recognizing the development of a child and the way they need to be taught at that particular age. So that's something else I look for. So that's one of the advantages of an all-in-one. In addition, another advantage of an all-in-one or boxed curriculum is that if you live in a state where you have to meet, say, with either a proctor or keep records or they have some kind of oversight, sometimes an all-in-one will help you to meet the record keeping that you need to do. Now, like I said, I don't want to lose you in any of my videos, but let me just put one fine point here too to kind of clear some of the myth and the misunderstanding and the fog that surrounds it. But a curriculum is not accredited. Okay? I get that asked all the time by new homeschoolers. I want an accredited curriculum. Curriculum's not accredited. A school is accredited, and then they might choose to use their particular curriculum with it. But curriculum is never accredited. Okay, so if you need or you think you may want to put your child back in public school the next year, then you will probably want to go with an accredited school. So that's what you're looking for, an accredited school. And most accredited schools use an all-in-one or boxed. It's the same level subject all the way across the board. That's a consideration. Our kids are not evenly developed, and they'll want to use the same grade level for all subjects, which is why, that brings me now to why some of these claim all-in-one, but they have math separately, because they know kids can be different levels of math. Actually, they can be different levels in all grades, but math seems to be the one that a lot of kids struggle with a lot who don't understand it, unless you have. And even if you have a child who does good at math, they may be here in language arts, but you want up here a higher grade level for math. So now you can see why some all-in-one will have the different, they'll say we're complete, but you get your own reading or your own phonics or your own math, because that can be hard to place a child for that. Okay, so record keeping would be one reason to use one of the laid out lesson plans. Testing services, grading services. I've helped parents. It's sad when there's a divorce. I don't think anybody ever plans for one for sure, and that's horrible, and it breaks my heart when that happens. But you have a judge involved, and they want to see what the child is doing, but you want your child with you. So sometimes these families, they say, yes, my child will be with me, but I have to use an accredited school, so I have records to show my significant other. So sometimes they use it for that. I've used a box curriculum or all-in-one when there's been sickness, long-term illness in my family, and I could not lesson plan, but I wanted my children to keep going. I've used it when I was pregnant, when I was laid up for a while, when I was sick, also when I was moving, I didn't have to worry about anything. I've used a laid out curriculum, and it just so many purposes it serves. It really is sanity saving. And a lot of homeschoolers who struggle don't know, just use an all-in-one if you're struggling. Okay, you can't make your own lesson plans right now. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. Put that aside. It's not your time right now on your journey to do that. So use an all-in-one. Don't give up your much-loved homeschool lifestyle. And all-in-one is sanity savings, time savings. Now I will say one of the caveats is you do have to look at the price. There's a significant price difference in many of them, and they have significantly gone up. Okay, so let's talk about that because sometimes I hear seasoned veterans say, don't use a box curriculum, don't use an all-in-one, it's the worst thing I did. That's not the advice I give to new homeschoolers, because here's why. When seasoned veterans are speaking, they're speaking, of course, from their experience now. And having taught new homeschoolers for 10 years in person, they have a very different need, and they have fear. And they want to do this right. And it takes a long time to learn everything about the homeschool lifestyle. You're not going to do it in the first couple of weeks. And it's hard enough to do it even in the first year. So I encourage new homeschoolers who have young kids, who are struggling, who maybe have to work part-time, to try an inexpensive all-in-one curriculum. But here's why the seasoned veterans say, don't use one. It's because sometimes, not all of them, but a lot of them don't use it correctly. See, a curriculum, there's nothing about a curriculum that's going to infuse your child with knowledge or to be a master learner. You're doing the teaching. You're doing the teaching. Curriculum's just a tool. So what a lot of homeschoolers do, and I don't want you doing this, is they purchase an all-in-one and then they just follow it faithfully. They never stray from it. They do every single lesson and they have to finish. Those are all wrong ways of using it. Wrong. Laid out curriculum can have anywhere, let me just give this point to you too before we go on. Laid out curriculum can have anywhere from 120 to 180 lessons. Okay? Again, nothing's going to happen that's going to infuse your child with this knowledge when you complete it as if they mastered that. That's not how children master. Again, it's just a tool to help you in this time of your life. And if you're a new homeschooler, or if you're even struggling right now, and you want to be, say, a better teacher, or you're looking for ways to improve, take that all-in-one and tweak it. You don't every day have to tweak it, but make some little change to it to put in your slant. You know your child best. If 20 math problems are too many, cut it back to 10. That's how you use an all-in-one. But what happens, many don't know that. They jump in, they're like, I paid dollars for this and I'm going to use every bit of it. But here's the thing, you don't have to throw it away. You can use parts of it the next year. Because all-in-one curriculum, most of them teach in a spiral fashion, which means like a staircase, they just go round and round and they repeat some of the same things the next year that they introduced the year before. Matter of fact, your child may not be ready for some of the concepts until the next year. So it's okay, keep it. I hear some new homeschoolers who tell me, I'm behind. I'm supposed to be on lesson 160 and we're 150. And I say, okay, flip the pages to 160 or tear them out and throw them away. You have my permission. You see, that's the freedom we need to feel when we use an all-in-one. That's the freedom we can feel. So what happens? The big turnoff from the box curriculum is doing every single lesson, every single way, every single day, and finishing all of it. That is the negative. That's not any way I can say that. That, I call it consideration, but it's a negative. Because that's not how we need to use all-in-one. Even all-in-one providers, curriculum providers will tell you, there's no sense the child has to finish all of this if they understand it. Move on to the next lesson. Well, move on to the next lesson. That's exactly what you want to do when you get these all-in-one. Okay, let me mention some other things here about these all-in-one that you need to know about. Okay, a lot of them have accountability or grading service, which are usually additional to that because they know you may live in a state where you have to turn in grades or have some kind of record keeping or show proof or meet with the proctor. So sometimes that makes it easier for you to do if they have that option added to it as well. So that's another feature that I wanted you to know about. And then remember, most when it's a box curriculum, when it's physical, that means you get teacher's manuals, the work text is usually for one student, and they have an additional charge if you're teaching two of the same age, twins, triplets. I've helped parents in the past that had twins, triplets. Sometimes they'll have an additional, money amount for another set of student workbooks that you can look into for those. And then, of course, supplies. Now, something else I want to explain is that with the addition of so much all-in-one, or so much curriculum and all-in-one, some curriculum now is online. That's why we've moved away from box curriculum, because it physically would come in a box shipped to us, and some companies still do. We love looking at that box when we get it at the house. We still get a box. But now, like Easy Peasy, which is free, it's an online curriculum. They tout to be an all-in-one, but they're online now. And so that's why we say all-in-one, and we don't really use the word box, but just keep in mind, those are interchangeable. So some of these providers, like Time for Learning, you don't get anything in a box. All of their subjects are online. And when Time for Learning came on stage in the homeschool world, they were just for younger kids. And now they've expanded all the way up to high school. And I used some of Time for Learning when we were overseas. But again, it is an online curriculum. It's not a school. They don't have a teacher because it's not a school. It's online curriculum. That's the difference. I can't say that enough. So when you think about it and you want to ask them, oh, do you have a teacher? You have a report card? If it says Easy Peasy all-in-one curriculum, that means they're not a school. You decide what grade level. You decide if you want your kids to have a report card. You do the grading. Same way with Time for Learning. That's what can make so many things confusing now, because some of this curriculum is online versus physical. So those are a few things that I wanted you to know about all-in-one or box curriculum. The important thing is to use what is good for your family. If you know some of these things, if you know some of these features, you can ask questions and let me help you. There's a lot of the curriculum providers I know about, like we even use life packs at one time. And I think they say we have a 4-subject pack and we have a 5-subject pack. So what do they consider essential? Some curriculum providers consider Bible essential as one of the core subjects. If you're faith-based, that may be a consideration for you. If you're not faith-based, then you don't see that as an essential. I'm just throwing this out there, informing you so you can make a better choice for your family. But to wrap this up, when it says all-in-one or box curriculum, it usually is math and language arts, which we refer to as the 3 R's, and science and history. And then again, some tout that they're all in one, except you have to buy the math separately. And then ask, do you add the math into your teaching, or is that completely separate? You see, so then you make your own math choice. And then some, like I know Calvert back in the day, they would buy from other providers, but they would fold it into their teachers' manuals, and they'd use their teachers to give tips to help you. So companies use things many different ways, and some of them also to keep the costs down. And then ask to see their teachers' manuals, ask to see the schedules. Their scope and sequence is where they line out what skills and what age they're going to learn what. And then find out. One thing I did forget to mention, I want to mention it right here before I wrap this up, and that is all-in-ones use very different reading or literature. Some of the books are basal readers, okay, or textbooks, if you will. Some of them are real books, what I call living books. And so you want to ask what kind of books, or look and see when you're comparing these all-in-one, what kind of readers do they use, what kind of books. And even if you just need it for the 1 year, you're like, okay, that doesn't really matter. They have these other considerations that are important to me, and we're going to use them, because you can add your own literature to it. And then just remember, there is nothing infusing about giving all the curriculum, or I should say finishing all the curriculum. Nothing happens. Nothing powerful happens to your child. They're just not infused with all this knowledge. So skip some lessons, for goodness sakes. Go 10 forward and you're caught up for the year. Do not make yourself feel that you're behind, which is why some seasoned veterans say, don't use an all-in-one. You'll feel behind, not to mention they're expensive. But what could be more expensive is wasting your time, stress that comes, curriculum hopping your first year, and then you've realized you spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars where you could have just bought one curriculum. And while you're using that one curriculum, you're looking around and reading about the different approaches in homeschool. There's so many different approaches in homeschool. All of them you can't know when you first start. Or if you're struggling, or if you're sick, or if you're caring for aging parents, these all-in-ones can just be sanity saving. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them here on my channel. Please give me a thumbs up. Please give me, is it the thumbs up? Yes, the thumbs up. Do the bell. Follow me, subscribe. You can tell I'm still new to all this YouTube. I'm loving it though. Please tell your friends too about my channel here. Okay, until I talk to you next time. Bye.